Hey guys, and welcome back to another round of Let's Make Hybrids. This week we've been focusing on any crocodilian and any big cat. I chose that prompt because, honestly, I figured out you guys were going to do some really amazing stuff with it, and mate, you really and truly have done. I've been so excited seeing all these submissions, and I'm really excited to share them now. So for my own one, I've been very busy with commissions, so I've not had a chance to do mine, but I did have two really fun ideas that I will be doing. I just might not be able to do them in time for these prompts, but I definitely do want to do them when I can. Obviously commissions take priority first. That being said though, like I said, we've got tons of amazing stuff to show you, and for the first one, we have the sketch by Drago. Now, I think this is work in progress. I don't believe they've actually finished theirs yet, and I'm a little bit worried that I might not be able to in time, so I did just want to slip this in because the sketch itself is just incredible. It's so lively, so detailed, so dynamic, really exciting, and I just think, mate, I just had to shove it in, okay? Now for our very first completed submission, we have this one by Blue the Fairy, which is quite cute. Very nice bright colours. And next up we've got this very lean sketch by Shrek. I really like the construction on the face. I think it's got a lot of detail. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. Also the way that the body transitions, you know, from crocodile into what I think is either cheetah or leopard, probably cheetah. It looks really nice. It looks like a very formidable sprinter. Next up we have a couple of adorable creations by Sayrak. One here which I imagine is Crocodile Lion. This one here looks like a Crocodile Tiger. And this one here I believe is a hatchling or a cub. Rather simple but a cute little collection. And next up we got a Snow Leopard Nile Crocodile by Untitled Goose. Really love the texturing on the back legs and the tail. This actually gives me a bit of a Ammit vibe from Egyptian mythology. I love the big scary teeth as well. This one looks like it's got a very nasty bite. In fact, considering it's, you know, if you combine big cat skull with crocodile teeth, yeah, I can imagine the teeth being terrifying, and I think they did a very good job here. And next up, I got a Snow Leopard Crocodile from Fridge Master 27. Really like the environment, and I also really like the markings again, particularly around the tail. I think the tail markings is really good. And I also like the attention to actually where the fur from the leopard is and how it breaks off into the more crocodilian parts around the snout, the underbelly, and the feet. And in addition, we've got another piece here of their croc snow leopards in a herd in the Arctic. I love all the different expressions, all the different postures, and it's just really cool just, you know, seeing like a family of them together. And next up we have the Croc Tiger from COD Gamer. This one appears to have gone the opposite route in terms of the fur placement, so this time it's hands and feet and mouth, whereas the rest of the body is scaly. Also really like all the whiskers around the face, and I've got to mention the whiskers on the eyebrows. Normally a very forgettable feature, so, you know, big credit to actually remembering that one. Really nicely done. And following COD Gamer is Janan with their Chi Gator. I think the combination of the really light spotted texture really matches the small petite shell shards across the back and tail, and I really like the placement and variation in size. You can tell that Janan's put a lot of thought into it. Also, the construction of the head is also very interesting. And of course, Janan also included a Cat in a Hat reference, which I thought was really cute. And next up we have Jacquard, Guardian of the Amazon by Fox Wyvern. This one looks badass, and also very large actually. I just noticed a truck underneath its foot. This one looks like an absolute monster. I love all the variation between all the leopard spots and all the osteoderms and larger scales. Also the cheetah spots around the face. There's so much variation in the markings, and I think it just looks really fantastic. Also all the spikes as well. In fact, this gives me massive Monster Hunter vibes. It looks really cool. And coming up next is another submission from Dinosaur King using impossible creatures of their Crocodile. As I mentioned before, I do find it quite interesting seeing variations from different games, and it's kind of cool as well just seeing the ways it's got like casually a crocodile head on a tiger body. This game definitely does look quite interesting. Next up we have Mihael with their Crocodile Jaguar. Again, absolutely love the texturing on this. I love the variation of all the spots and markings, plus the, you know, very typical crocodile neck going on and all the osteoderms on the back. I also really like the face. The face gives me very much there's a word for it, a synapsid kind of vibe. I'm not sure synapsid is the right word, like a Dimetrodon. Basically an early mammal, and I really quite like it. I also like the tail. To me it kind of feels like a bit of an in-betweener between a big cat tail, but with the typical crocodile osteoderms and a paddle on the tip. Following Mihael is the first of many Sommy submissions. The first one here is the Bad Omen, which is a melanistic jaguar and a black caiman. This looks epic. The face is really creepy, and I think it looks really good. I love the lighting, I love the ambient orange glow. Really kind of sets in the creepy vibe. And for it being like a very dark palette creature, I do actually like all the variation in hues and shades, how they've got like a bit of green, a bit of blue, a bit of red. It kind of like really just gives the creature a bit more depth in terms of ambient lighting, and I think that's the type of thing that is very easily missed. and I think Sommy did a fantastic job. And next up we have this interesting one by King. Now, I do believe Zeppelin mentioned that they integrated this hybrid into their comic series, so unfortunately I don't know the context of this. But what I can say though is that I do like the design of the two hybrids behind the figure themselves. They seem to be like mechanical tiger crocodiles, which I think is quite interesting. And of course, Zeppelin, best of luck with your comic. And next up we finally have some more Galactic Adventure scenes. I'm really happy to see this. This one is by Vyanesh, and it is also mechanical croc lion. Saying that, I absolutely love the tail. The tail's got like a really awesome crocodile vibe with all the big spikes. I also really like the body. What I like about the body actually is both the coloration, how it kind of varies, the little tanks around where the chest is. It just feels like a lot of thought has gone into this, how different segments of the two animals have been represented in mech form, and I just think it's a very creative way to put it all together. And it's also cool just seeing them in a scene, such as the one above, where one's chilling on a rock and one is having some meat. Now next up we have one by RedRater146, who noticed a bit of a loophole and decided to do a Pokemon fusion, which is entirely fair. I mean, it's blatantly a crocodile and a tiger. The Pokemon, I believe, are Crocodile and Incineroar, and therefore their fusion is called Incineroar, which I think is really cool, and I like the design of it overall. I think it's a really cool combination of the two Pokemon. Yeah, like, this was very clever, you know? We've had it before where Mava introduced a submarine and a vehicle for the Cobra Lionfish prompt, so it's entirely fair that Red Raider comes in with a Pokemon fusion. I mean, it's still a crocodile tiger, I'll take it. And following up next is LordYeetos. I don't think we've actually seen very many more aquatic variants now that I think about it. This one I really like. I also really like just the ambient lighting and how it all kind of becomes gloomy. I just think it's very immersive. And I also really like the design itself. In fact, I really love just how the stripes are just consistently there, despite the texture of the bodies, whether it's fur or scales or osteoderms or mane. I like how there's still a sense of stripes and it really brings out that tiger feeling very, very well. Also, those teeth, man, they're like really intimidating and I really, really like it. Very fitting for, you know, a tiger crocodile. More spore scenes. We have this one by ThePlantGuy of their Caparod, which is a Capro snow leopard. Oh man, I tell you what, the scene really makes the creature to seem more lively and formidable. I really, really love it. Coming out of its cave with a bit of meat there. I love the design itself as well, very large and fluffy. I can definitely get the Capro vibes in the sense that it's got the big teeth and I can imagine it being quite a sprinter. Also with a very long, rigid tail. And seeing the combination of nail downs along with the creepy and cute ponytail part, the big fluffy fur part, is really cool. I like how the two kind of meld together, and I really like the construction and shape of the snout. And following the ThePlantGuy, we have ex-Keeper Shagaru with their Leo Sutures, a lion Capro Sutures hybrids. There's something about this. It actually gives me the Lion King vibes. I think it's just because the way the body is drawn, but I just love seeing the two together like that. The male and female variants kind of chilling together with their nest. Something about the scene looks fantastic, not to mention the designs themselves. The designs are quite simple in a way, how it's got a crocodile head and a crocodile tail on a big lion body, but just the style, I think, just really makes it work. I find this one, it's just very satisfying to look at. It just looks very clean and very polished. Speaking of clean and polished, we have this epic one by Shunky, a tiger crocodile. That mouth is really cool and kind of creepy, but I really, really like it. I love the posture, or more like the camera angle. I love how we're looking at it from behind, it's kind of roaring at us. I think that's very creative and very hard to do. I also absolutely love how we get to see the ridges and osteoderms of the crocodile kind of separate and go down the legs. That's normally a subtle feature that's kind of lost, so again, you know, props to Shunky for actually illustrating it. And I just think the tiger part itself is just very clean and well executed. And of course, you know, tiger, name, bonus points, tiger. And next up we have this little cutie by Dropkick Murphy of a Demastodon and a Desmetasuchus. I may have butchered those names. But it's a cute little guy, I quite like it. I like the colour scheme, the big black ears, and I like the really large teeth. And next up we have the second of many Sommy submissions. We have the Sarkodon Impera Fatalis, which is a hybrid of the Sarcosuchus Imperator and Smilodon Fatalis. I'm absolutely loving its prehistoric ones. And I also really like the two variants here. So I remembered Sommy having a bit of a struggle in regards to choosing which one to show here, because in my opinion the shadowed one looks fantastic. It looks like it's got more depth, but it does hide the white, which on the left hand side you can see the white really does highlight the creature quite nicely, hence why Sommy has then added in both options. I really love the expressive mane. I think it's really cool how it kind of ruffles itself upwards. I absolutely love the choice of where all the scales are, and also the integration of the leopard spots. The face itself is just so cool and so expressive. And also, I do want to actually point out the hands and feet. There's something about just the way that the claws and hands have been designed. It just looks so monstrous and yet so believable. It looks really, really good. I think this one's absolutely fantastic. And next up we have this adorable one by Pop Culture, a Volimatio, or a flatter leather. So the way that Pop Culture described this one is, it is literally a big cat. It likes to be in the loaf position, as people call it. It exhibits feline behaviour such as self-loathing. It actually has like a bit of a panda habit as well, based on description, where it prefers eating plants despite being a capable carnivore. I really like it. It's really creative. And I just love the big angry face and the addition of the little butterfly on its nose. It's just, it's really cool. I like it. This one feels like a very personal submission, and I think it's really good. Next up we have CocoCat123 with their Cayman and Iberian lynx. So I quite like the posturing and camera angle with this one. I consider that angle would normally be very tricky to do, and therefore props to CocoCat for trying. I think they did a very good job at it. I also like the blurring techniques around the face and mane, and also the way they've done the markings on the crocodile face. And following CocoCat, we have Poophead27 with this really awesome sketch. Mate, those scales look absolutely fantastic. I love the variation in them, like between the main body and the underbelly and legs. I like how they actually follow the form of the legs as well, so they're nice and in pattern. It looks really nice. I can imagine it taking a while, and I think that the time was very well spent. Also, the osteoderms and the tail, I just love how structurally strong the tail looks. And the head as well, just again has that very prehistoric feeling, kind of like an early mammal reptile look, and I think it just looks really nice, really cool. Next up we have the Tanaporos by Dino Chris. Now Dino mentioned that this one is capable of climbing trees and camouflage. I absolutely just love the bottom sketch in particular, and I really like the variation in fur, like fur into osteoderms, particularly around the mane and around the tail. The tail itself is beautifully illustrated, really great pencil marks. I love the variation in like the light fur and the darker, more defined scales. Also the size of it as well. This is the kind of creature that I could definitely see in a game, like even in like Ark, and this is something that I would love to come across this, man. If I could see a creature like this in Ark, that would be incredibly epic. And next up we have the King Cheetah Crocodile by Witch Doctor. Mate, nice choice on the King Cheetah. Not a lot of people know about those ones. I really love the markings. I think they're absolutely spot on. The face as well is beautiful. You can see a lot of work and detail has gone into just a general structure of the face, all the subtle features like the creases around the eyes, the highlights around the nose, the teeth and the whiskers. It just looks really great. I also really like all the little small scales. I feel like on this, a lot of the little small scales around the belly, the back feet and the jaw, they could have been easily missed, and therefore I really respect that Witch Doctor went ahead and still drew them in. It really does go to show, you know, the determination and effort put into this. And next up by The Armored Guy, we have a Lion Croc in Spore. I really like the posture. It kind of gives it like a bit of a cat bro theme. I also really like the bright green colour scheme. We've been seeing a lot of very mammalian colour schemes so far, with a couple of like dreary dark greys and browns for the crocodile, so it's quite cute to see like a nice big green variant. I also like the placement of the fur and just a general construction of the osteoderms going across the neck, back and tail. And coming up next we have Little Gumdrop with their Nundasuchus and Snow Leopard. Another really cool variant, and once again looking at the scales on the back, I just really love the way that they're illustrated. They just looks really cool. It's actually, the closer I look at it, it's got a very interesting colouring technique, which is really cool. I also just want to point out the fur, particularly around the lower chest and how it kind of contrasts to the background. I think that fur technique and just the way it's illustrated looks absolutely beautiful. Very soft, gives an absolutely fantastic texture. And also the face is just really expressive. Nice big jowls, very clean eyes. And in addition to that, just the general way this is shaded, and especially around the tail and the legs, I think just looks really, really clean. And next up we got a sketch by Caliber Light of their Crocodilian Tiger. Oh mate, I just love the way that these stripes and scales intertwine. And the face as well just looks quite monstrous, and it looks really cool. I don't think we've actually seen like quite a literal combination of a crocodile snout on a tiger head yet. So it does look really, really cool to see that. The arms and legs as well are really cool in design, especially the large scales kind of flecking outwards. And the whole thing just looks, again, very monstrous and very epic. And following Caliber Light, we have SwaggyTracks with their Nile Crocodile and Eurasian Lynx into their Nilynx. This one, I really love the face. It just looks really, really cute. I feel like this one's another somewhat cat-ish one or feline one. I really like the overall posture and how it's a bit of a, I'm not sure if it's either a belly dragger or if it's just chilling, but either way I do like that illustration being portrayed here. And I do think that the face in general is just very well constructed in regards to getting all those lynx features. Like, you can definitively tell it's a lynx, whereas I personally find that lynxes are one of those animals that are quite easy to accidentally exaggerate. or just make it look quite silly. Therefore, I do feel like SwaggyTracks here has done a very, very good job of making, you know, just a nice, good old Lynx. Saying that, I also really like the shading, nice colourful shading. Big red and purple shadows, it just gives it like a very nice ambient effect. Next up we have LilTherapod with this monstrous looking beast. Again, like another really Monster Hunter-esque one. It looks awesome, and can I just say, I really love the fur. I love just how heavy the fur looks, particularly around the chest, underneath the, generally just the entire underneath of it, and around the front claws as well. Just the way that the fur's kind of directionally weighs just looks really heavy and, you know, wet, of course. And I think that LilTherapod's done a very good job of illustrating that. Also, the tail just like, has a really cool, somewhat mammalian, but very heavily crocodile armor design. And the face, I mean, come on guys, the head, the face, it is incredibly detailed. Absolutely monstrous. Or the water effect as well, actually. I nearly overlooked the water. It's just incredibly well executed. And next up, by FrostDragon365, is a saber-toothed crocodile, which I can tell from this is in a rather either swampy or jungle environment, which seems very fitting. I really like the way it's kind of basking in this clearing in the trees. Also, the skeletons around it kind of really gives me the vibe that it's a very successful hunter. And also the teeth, I just really like just how big and exaggerated the teeth are. It's like a cat pro, but dialed to 11. And of course the bright green colour scheme. Following Frost is Secasol, with their K-Magua, which is a Cayman Jaguar. Now this one's quite interesting. So far what we've been seeing a lot of is typically a lot of these scales, stripes, patterning have all been like very segregated. Secasol, however, has just straight up added the scales and osteoderms just on top of the patterning of the fur, which I guess would actually make sense, and I quite like that. It's a risky move to have the two patterns kind of clash in a way, and I think that she did a very good job of it. I also just really like the overall design of the back as well, the osteoderms on the back and the tail, and the way that they transition into these lighter scales, which then transition into the fur. Also the limbs as well are very nicely done. Not too thick, but not too lean either. In fact, the overall proportions on this one just look really nice. I think it's a bit more unique, and I think it fits it very well. And next up, we have this absolutely adorable one by Unstable Mystery of their saltwater crocodile and bobcat. Now, I do recall Unstable Mystery saying that I don't mean to go for cute, but mate, you do it so well. I mean, look at the bottom middle one. Of course it's adorable. I actually also like the way that they've illustrated both the saltwater crocodile and the bobcat, and then the hybrid as well, because it just gives like a bit of an idea as to how they would portray it, like portray the original ones compared to the hybrid. No, but I do really like it. I think it looks absolutely adorable. It's a nice minimalistic approach as well. It's quite a bit more cartoony, but it still shows all the information required, and I especially really like the tail on the middle one and just the angle that it showed at, and also the little ridges on the head too. Next up, we got this very eerie one by Tajrosz. I really like just how dark and moody it is, and I do just want to say I really like the texture used for the background. It just feels very scratchy, very rough, like it's got like a very surreal horror feeling. And also the creature itself, the fact that you can't really see the eyes, only the ridges, gives like a bit of a soulless appearance, and the dripping mouth, not to mention the fog as well, that's partially obscuring the feet. Overall, it's like, this does a very, very good job of just selling, you know, some kind of large, eerie, almost like crypto kind of creature. This is something I can imagine someone depicting from folklore and myths. And next up we have one by Frozen of their Jaguar Crocodile, which they did mention was drawn as a JoJo style. Now, I haven't really seen JoJo myself, so I can't really appreciate it, but I can appreciate the overall form of this creature. I love how for a humanoid it's got like this really large muscular build. What I also actually really like is just how large the neck is. Now, I know that sounds a little bit strange, but it gives me the idea that the neck and therefore the jaw muscles are very powerful. I could see this creature inflicting one hell of a nasty bite. And I also really like the scale definition around the torso, the biceps, and the knees. I feel like humanoid creatures are very easy to be hit or miss, and for Frozen's one here, I think it does a very good job of looking sinister and powerful. And last, for now, but absolutely not least, we have Cherish with their Lion Croc. This one, I think it's painted. It looks painted, or maybe it's just like a really good job on digital, but I love the medium more than anything else. I mean, don't get me wrong, the way that it's been portrayed as partially underwater and partially above, it's beautiful. I think that's incredibly well illustrated. I love the scales that go around the back of the tail. In fact, the scales everywhere, now that I look at it deeper, they're all just very beautifully highlighted or shadowed accordingly. The mane is beautiful, and I love how underwater it looks very just, you know, large and alive as it should. But I think that the medium used here just really sells it even further. It looks absolutely beautiful, and this is honestly the kind of thing I could see being printed on a canvas and hung on a wall. It looks fantastic. I just really love the style. And I think that'll cut it for now then. Now we do have many more, and I do want to keep these fairly short, but go through them rather quickly. I think everyone did an absolutely fantastic job, and I'm really excited to show you guys even more in part 2. Now as always, if you also want to submit your own, you can do so either on my Discord server, you can email me, you can message me in the comment section, you can go to Twitter or DeviantArt. There's many ways to contact me and show me your submission, and I will try to get them in the next video. As always everyone, thank you so much. It's been an absolute blast, and I can't wait to see you all next time. Take care, and have a wonderful day.